Hi everyone, Alistair Davies here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to learn the secret of the wrist action in the pitch shot or chip shot. Some people refer to this shot as a chip shot, so I'll happily call it either. But we're looking really at a 30-yard kind of shot onto the green approach shot machine. So I want to talk to you about wrist options and what they do to the golf ball. The wrist, they maybe increase or decrease, but a way of referencing what kind of wrist position you're doing to change the ball flight to give you diversity around the greens. If you are a new viewer, please consider following and subscribing. I post 3 videos a week on a variety of subjects, all designed to help lower your scores and improve your golf. So keep watching to learn about the wrist action in the pitch shot. So, wrist action. So I've done another video where I talk about thumb down, thumb up. Well, today I want to talk about the variance in between those two things. So I quite often will talk about thumb down, thumb up. I'll quite talk about it as some, so some wrists and none wrists. Today I want to talk about gears, okay? So I want you to imagine at address here, this would be gear 0. And if I added some wrists, that'd be gear 1, some more, gear 2, some more, gear 3, some more, gear 4, and some more, gear 5. Now, essentially, you can learn to play and say, right, I'm going to hit this at a gear 3 or a gear 2. And depending on how much wrist, what I would call radial deviation, is what we're talking about really here, wrist cock into the shot, it'll change what the ball does. So adding more wrist cock on the way back will end up giving you a steeper angle of attack, generally speaking. We can preload the weight, pressure, but generally speaking, more wrist cock on the way back is really good for poor lies because it ends up giving you a sharper attack angle. So out of thick rough, it will reduce the amount of contact of rough. Off a divotty lie, it will help you get to the ball without hitting the ground before the ball. So adding more wrist cock can become part of your matrix when we're talking about lie and shot choice. Adding more wrist cock on the way through for me adds more loft. Now, adding more loft will add more spin. So if you're looking for maximum spin, we're looking obviously for a really fast club head speed, and we're looking for a lot of loft. So it's relatively fast club head speed. So if I said to you, put your driver club head speed on this, that would be no good. But basically, the more you can get what we call your smash factor low, which is the energy the ball's got when it leaves the ball speed relative to the club head speed, the faster you can swing to get the ball to go a certain distance, which means the more spin you produce on the ball. Which is why some of the pitchers out there in this world will hit shots purposely off the toe to increase spin, because then they can hit it harder to go the same distance. So basically what we're looking at, if we have a very kind of wristy, narrow arc, that's going to create more spin and more risk. Timing is more paramount in that technique. If I had a wider, stiffer shot, a worst case scenario, you might hit it slightly fat or slightly thin, but you're going to get pretty consistent and solid results. So depending on the trust you have, the skill level you have, and the lie you have, you can choose what makeup you have of this gearing, as I would call it. So we have obviously the 5 gears on the way back, and we have the 5 gears on the way through. So a standard kind of what I'd call pitch like this, that'd probably be like a gear 3 to a gear 3. And that's pretty good to be around. The kind of more Steve Stricker style would probably be more like gear 1 to gear 1. The gear 1 is going to give you generally a lower flight and a more running flight. The gear 3 is going to give you a mid flight and the mid spin. And a gear kind of, you could even go gear 3 to gear 5, will probably give you a maximum spin. Quite a lot of information then, quite a lot of thinking to work on that. But what I want you to try and do is read the scenario, read the live, read what you need to do, and then get it clear in your head. All right, gear 5, or even gear 5 to gear 1. That's particularly good out of a bad lie. So if my lie was kind of, let's say, in a divot here, I might try and go, okay, gear 5, gear 1. And that will generally give me a kind of sharp position down on the golf ball. You might go, if you wanted to be a little bit poppy and get up rather quickly, you might go gear 1 to gear 5. Let's just show you one of those. Try anyway. Gear 1, gear 5. And what you see there is a lot more initial height, okay? Obviously these shots aren't next to the pin. I'm not really concentrating on the pin, I'm just concentrating on the wrist action. You possibly could get to a phase where you knew gear 3 gave you X amount of distance. But what I like you to do with distance control is then think about where the arm is. So you stand at gear 3, for example, with your arm at hip height, arm at rib height goes X amount of distance. And that's where I kind of want you to be back to. So I want you to be clear before you hit a shot whether you're going to go gear 3, and that's pretty much what I would probably choose for this shot. So if I stand to this one now and go gear 3, that's pretty much where I'd want to be for this shot in hand. Now there's nothing to say I can't play at gear 1, gear 2. Again, if the flag was kind of where the balls have ended up there, I know the last ball collided with the other balls, but I would probably then want it to be a little bit softer maybe. So you might even then go gear 2, way back, gear 4 on the way through, and that might come out a little bit softer. This is just a different way of thinking of things. It might be too complex. You might just want to go back to a simple method like I've talked about in my other videos where I talk about thumb up, thumb up. And it might well be gear 3, gear 4, it doesn't really matter. If you know what the outcome is or the output is, that's the whole thing. But I do want you guys to get into the fact of reading lies and scenarios and not think, oh God, what do I do from here? And again, there's nothing wrong with you getting a 7-iron out here and running it short, and as long as the ground is good. If the terrain is good, you can do it. It might end up being 10, 15 foot away, but that might be perfectly acceptable for what you want. From a 30-yard shot, the best players in the world average about 4 yards from the hole. So 4 yards from the hole is 12 foot. Now that's the best players. Now I'm not saying that's the guys that are high up on the scoring index that week, but this is a PGA Tour average that would be. That's where they'd be, 12 foot from this kind of shot. It's not that close. And from 12 foot, they're holding about 20% of the putts. Again, when they win, more like 40% of the putts. So the guys that win might chip it a bit closer and they'll hole out more. And that makes up that extra half a shot, quarter of a shot, 0.3 of a shot, 0.2 of a shot per round, which makes a big difference. Again, based on good players, they have 7 opportunities per round to get up and down, generally speaking. And if they, increase that by 1, that's 1 shot per round. So improving your pitching or chipping by hitting it a few feet closer. So if you hit it to 3 foot instead of 7 foot, that's going to save you a shot around based on numbers, based on pure stats numbers. There's quite a lot of saving. So anyway, we're really today talking about the gearing and thinking about where you want to be. And again, you might well get, 2 set shots in your head. You might have a gear 2 and a gear 4, and that's you done. And you might be able to go then, okay, wristy backswing, no wrist through swing. So again, as I said to you, I've called this quite often, some, none. Instead of gear 4 and gear 1, some, none. That might be a simpler take from you. But I wanted you to have today more information and more thinking about how the wrist can work both at ends of the swing to give you different outcome on the golf ball. I hope that helps. So I hope you've enjoyed that take on the wrist action in pitch and chip shots, looking at the way you can set yourself up to play a certain wrist amount of radial deviation or wrist cock. Some people call it wrist hinge, but I think about it like this. Opening a door on a hinge goes this way, so that's wrist hinge, whereas this will be more radial or wrist cock. Thumbs up if you want to call it that, in the backswing. If you have, please click like and share the video. Also, please chat down below, ask any questions, post any comments, post any requests for videos. It's great to be back here at the Forest of Arden, and if you haven't already followed me and subscribed, please hit my logo down the bottom corner. Hopefully, we can lower your scores and improve your golf and make you enjoy your golf in the future. So thanks for tuning in, and see you again here soon.